how many believe that Jesus can deliver you fully? Come on, we ain't talking about just, white knuckling, getting through things. We're talking about Jesus, the creator of everything, setting you free of everything, right? There's no reason we should be walking around today in condemnation, in anger, in rage, and in anxiety, and depression, and all of these things that we're carrying. Because that's what the cross was for, right? The cross is a beautiful thing. And I'm going to go into my testimony real quick, but I want to make sure one thing is crystal clear. Crystal clear. And in Acts, I'm just going to read a couple verses really, really quick. Acts 4, verse 12. Jesus is the only one who can save people. His name is the only power in the world that has been given to save people. Two simple verses. The name Jesus is the thing that can break things, if we allow it, right? If we submit to the name Jesus. If we understand and take into our heart what that really means. And before we get started, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to come here. Pastor, the church, the team. Can we give it up for them? Come on, serving us and opening your house to us. It's been amazing. A bunch of city kids out here in the woods, I got a 20-year-old in the home, and he's like, he won't go outside of the cabin at night. He's like, I'm not going out there. Get me back to the cement. Get me back to the hood. We're like, bro, it's fine. But there's a freedom here. Guys, your house, this property, there's a freedom. We have a house in the middle of Northside Pittsburgh that the delivery drivers of pizza, Chinese, you can't get it. They're not coming there. You know what I mean? They're not going there. This is no joke. And they come out here, and I see these guys out here beating each other with sticks. They're having competition. Whose fire's bigger, right? I seen a joy in a juvenileness, a good, healthy one inside of them when they came here. As I walked this property and been praying and asking God, what is it? It's cool to come here and tell you guys some stories, and I got some stories in my testimony, because God is a God of deliverance. Fully. But it's our job to make sure that we don't go back into it. Getting free of the addiction is kind of the easy part. But then when life issues hit you, all of these struggle, the financial, the relationship, the job, all of these things, all of a sudden it's like, Jesus, you were great to set me free, but I'm going to need you to sit back here and I'll handle this part. Right? And then we start asking Jesus, where are you now? Why is everything going to crap? Because we put Jesus outside here now. Because I had to follow my own will again, right? My own strength, my own power. I had to make my own money. I had to make my own decisions. I never had anybody, if you look at that, to tell me right from wrong growing up. I met my dad one time, and that's really part of my whole messed up part of my life, is that I thought I depended on an earthly father for something, for guidance, for a hug. I don't know what an earthly father's hug feels like. I just don't know. I've thought about it, and I've seen movies, what it's like when you see your dad and you say, hey, what's up, Pops, and all this stuff. And I met my dad one time, and it was not like that. I had to do this, and this for him to accept me. And if you're any type of person who has some anger or has a little chip on your shoulder or something like that, you can't tell me what to do and expect a good result, right? I mean, if I might be the only one, but I know that there's a group in here. If I tell them, hey, you got to go do this, and this, automatically they're going, what? No, I don't think so. We have to come to things with love, right? That only Jesus can put in us. So early on, I didn't have anybody telling me right from wrong. I have ADD. That's why you'll see me move a lot. I don't stop. I'm constantly going, and now I thank God, because now that's my mindset. There's more we can do. We can go, we can get that, we can do that. Don't tell me that we can't, because we can. There's a way. If there's a wall, we'll get over it. If I can't, I'm asking you to help me. If not, we're getting an army. One way or another, we will accomplish God's will. And I never had anybody telling me that early on in my life. And I put that on the inside, and that's who I started to build myself up to be. You guys with me? Like I had to build up who I was because I didn't know. My false identity. Tough. Little hood rat, little gangster. Wanted all this stuff, right? So I lived my life. You've seen it in 3rd grade. I mean, I was out of control already. They put my desk on the outside, so everything I did was this. I was always out here looking in on the other kids, the normal kids. But I was the one that was too much. So they didn't want to deal with me, so they discarded me, right? In 5th grade, they made my mom and them pull me out of public schools. Either they pulled me out or they kicked me out. My mom helped me, I guess, and pulled me out of there. So if you already see at age 8, 10, 12, I'm already building an identity that says I don't belong with normal people. Obviously, there's something wrong with me. And that's already, as soon as I got into 6th grade, I was homeschooled 6th, 7th, and I think, and most of 8th. I started doing pills. So a lot of people ask me, how the heck do you start doing pills and heroin at 12, 13 years old? Well, if you're out in the streets looking for something, you'll find it. And most of us run with an older crowd, older, rougher crowd, and it's old to them, it's new to me. I did heroin before I even knew what it was. They were called stamp bags. I had no clue it was even dope. And as soon as I did that, game over. I mean, I don't know how many addicts are actually in this place right now, but I don't care if it's meth, dope, alcohol, I don't care what it is. As soon as you touch that, nothing else matters. Nothing. And I literally went from my 13-year-old self to my 28-year-old self in that addiction. I mean, I got 31 rehabs that I've been to. And I tell people these numbers because a lot of people, I'll get them and they're like, yeah, but I've tried this. And I've tried the rehabs and it hasn't worked. The only thing that I have found to work is Jesus. It's the only thing. See, I've went to the rehabs and I've read the books that they've told me and I've did the steps half butt. You know what I mean? Like I ain't, no. Because I was never changed my heart. I always did it for someone to get out of trouble, to get an oil change so that my tolerance would go down so that I could just shoot 3 bags and be straight again. Nothing changed my thought process, my heart, because I was already a junkie. I was already discarded. I was labeled a junkie. That's who I am. So that's who I'm going to be, right? We build ourselves up to be who we think we have to be to survive out there. Inner city, out here, it doesn't matter. If you don't know Jesus and don't know the truth, then you're being fake because you're building yourself up in your own image. In and out of county jails. Jail's not a consequence. I mean, we probably have a room full of people. I mean, most of my crew's been there. That's not a consequence. You're going to send a kid that's been homeless since I've been 17 now. Since 17 to 28, homeless. I had little apartments here and there, but most of the time, dugouts, playgrounds, and dumpsters. Dumpsters with pieces of board over top of them so the rain wouldn't hit me. Waking up in dugouts with snow on my face. Because I chose this lifestyle over anything good in my life. And I don't know about you, but there's a feeling inside of you that there'd be so many times that I'd be like, I don't want to do this, I'd be crying, I don't want to do this. But there's something inside of you that says, I need to do this. That feeling has been with me my entire life, since I was a kid. I didn't know how to live without that feeling. It's something so nasty that it overtakes everything inside of you. You can't think right. You don't care about nothing. But to satisfy that feeling. And I was going to jail. I moved to Cleveland to try to get clean again. You know, sometimes we move from place to place to place and be like, you know, there's definitely no dope over here. I'm going over there. So, you know, that should be good. Come to find out, believe it or not, Cleveland has heroin. So if anybody was wondering, there is dope out there. So I go out there and it wrecked my life even more. Because come to find out, it was actually better and cheaper also. And it ran rapid. I've done things that I've never done yet. I don't know if you guys ever built like a yet board, like I've never done that yet. And I don't have any left on that board. That's done, that's over with. And so I was out there for about 3 years. And I started catching charges out there. And the state of Ohio is a lot harsher than PA. They'll send you to prison for anything. I mean, I've met 20-year-olds that got 4 numbers already. It's insane. So I've always done county bids. I never actually got to go to prison yet. But once again, me growing up, no influence, no nothing, I've ran my life, I am a junkie. That's what I identified as. That's who I am. That's the way I was born. These are the cards I was dealt. This is just who I am. Deal with it. Some people come from money, some people have this, and this. I got the short end of the straw, and I'm going to deal with it. And I know a lot of people feel like that. But that's not how we got to live. See, I caught a charge, and I had to go do jail time in Cleveland, got back out, and then I caught a F1 aggravated robbery charge. Looking 3 to 11 years in prison. And they give me a PSI, which is a pre-sentence investigation. They, ask you a bunch of questions, rate you, see where you're at, and all that stuff. And they came back and offered me a place called NeoCap. It's a 9-month rehab. Now I'm looking at 3 to 11 years in prison. Or I can take 9 months rehab, wear my own clothes, eat better food, and it's not prison. Right? What do you pick? You pick rehab, right? Any normal-minded person would pick rehab. But I'm a junkie. Jail is where I belong. Prison is just a way of life. That's in my path that I have to go do. I rejected the offer to go to rehab, and I accepted the prison. How crazy is that? It doesn't even make sense. But when you don't know who you are, you will fall into that line to where you're not even supposed to be. Does that make sense? If you think that you're a drug addict and you run with it, you're only going to run in that direction. So if I thought I was a junkie, then prison comes with that. Rehab comes with that. So I went. The judge looked at me, and that's where that comes from, is the state of Ohio deems me unrehabilitatable. See, the judge took down his glasses and he says, you're not going to change, you're going to die like this. But I don't know if you've ever been in a situation that you're like, I don't care. I just don't care anymore. I don't have a job. I don't have nothing. I got nothing. Like, you don't understand, me going to jail, I'm getting food. I'm getting to talk to people. I love playing cards, I love playing poker and spades. That's my house. My mom done like everybody's discarded me because of me, not because of them, because of me. I don't have anything. I'm safe inside jail. I'm comfortable in there. That's where I was. And they just said that you're not going to change. You can't change. Okay, here you go. And I went, which the crazy thing is they wanted me out of the state of Ohio. So being there 3 years, I think it was, 2 of it or so, I was locked up. That's why they deemed me unrehabilitatable, because how long I was there, most of the time I was incarcerated. They didn't want me in their state. They let me go out of prison with no probation. They said, get out of here and go. I thought that was a blessing. I was like, yeah, no probation. 33 days later, I caught a new charge. 33 days later, I caught a new charge stealing $67 worth of razors, right? $67. They gave me 6 months for that. That's unheard of. That is a misdemeanor at the best, and you gave me 6 months in jail for that. This is where things change. I'm at home, I'm in jail, I'm cool, I'm eating, playing, enjoying myself. And 3 days before my 3rd month in there, they called me for a furlough outside of the jail into another pod. And a guy comes, and I have my cards in my hand because I'm playing poker. And he calls and he says, Michael? I says, yeah? He says, I have a message for you. Now, the only person I have in Ohio is my mom. She doesn't go to church. I don't go to church. I don't do anything. Nothing. Like, I'm not even oblivious to anything. Any church life, anything. I don't have a background in church. I don't have nothing. And he tells me, he says, you've been living for yourself long enough. It's time to live for God. In the middle of Ohio, in jail, junkie to the core. I'm at my house and I have a guy looking at me in my face telling me that I got to start living for God. I don't even know what you're talking about, bro. Like, it don't make no sense. What do you mean? And I says, appreciate it, bro. I'm going back to the pod. Play cards. Gotta go. 3 days later, they call me to pack it up. 3 days later, they tell me to pack up all my belongings to leave jail. And again, one more time, any right-minded person would be like, I'm out. Cool, gone. I questioned them. I made them call the COs, check the computers, because I'm at home. I don't have anywhere to go. Why are you letting me out? Because God had a bigger plan for me than sitting in a cell, being a junkie, feeling bad for myself, thinking that was my limit in life. That's why. See, 3 days later, they let me out, and I jumped out onto the sidewalk. I was excited at this point. I called my mom. I says, Mom, I'm out. Your baby's out. What's up? She says, why? Why are you out? Because now she got to start worrying about me again, right? Now she got to start worrying if I'm going to OD this time. Because I couldn't tell you how many times I wake up with a needle in my arm. Sometime later, like, whoo. The sick thing is that's what I chased my whole life. That near death. That recklessness, right? And then she told me about this program. She begged and pleaded with me, will you just try this thing? I says, I'm not, do you see me? I'm not a God person, right? Any perception I had of the church or God or Jesus, that wasn't me. And she says, just do it. I says, give me $100, I'll do it. I had to get some dope before I went. But I did it. And I went to this program in the north side of Pittsburgh, right? This Christian discipleship program. And I told you that feeling inside of it, an addict that you need to get high, that's always been in there since the earliest you can remember. See, I went into this house. They didn't even allow me upstairs with the rest of the guys because I was a freaking mess. They was like, you're triggering the whole entire house. Like, I don't know what we're doing. Stay on the couch. But I wake up the next day, and for the first time in my entire life, that feeling was gone. See, I still didn't even know God. I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know what to pray for. I didn't even know it was possible. But I woke up the next day and that feeling was gone. Because normally, as soon as my eyes open, I'm on the run. Let's go. Let's get it. I need $420 today, tomorrow, the next day, 7 days a week. My habit was $520 a day. 7 days a week, 365 days a year. An 8-ball of dope, gas, cigarettes, and food. That's what I did every single day of my life. Some days are good, some days are bad, but that was the base. And for the first time in my life, I woke up. And I was okay. I wasn't perfect. Don't get it twisted. But I didn't have to jump up and leave the rehab to go pursue this drug. There was a calming inside of me, and I didn't know what it was. But I needed to find out now. And as I pursued that and went after that, they started telling me about Jesus. But again, I'm a hard learner. I got a hard head. It takes a lot. So it was still boring to me. It was still a job to read the Word of God. It didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense until you make it personal. It doesn't make sense till you can picture a perfect man that was willing to die for a ratchet, hood rat junkie like me. See, until you can look at him on the cross and look at him eye to eye and say, Daddy, thank you. See, I don't know what the earthly father feels like, the touch, the feel, but I can tell you I could care less today. Because I know what my daddy in heaven feels like. When I'm broken, when I'm hurting, he's there. And embraced by Jesus is like none other. There's a Spirit of God that needs to be awakened inside of you. He's there. But are you willing to dig deep, get it out, and ignite it on fire? Because once it's on fire, you can't stop loving Him. You can't stop evangelizing. You can't stop reaching the next one. You can't. So as I went through this program, I had some bumps in the road, but I ended up finishing this program. I ended up graduating this program. I ended up leading this program. I ended up going to Bible school to become a pastor. A junkie that was nobody, has nothing, come from nothing. All of a sudden, people believe in me to preach this gospel. Is that not a transformation through Jesus? Jesus is the one. Jesus is the one that will take a junkie and make him a pastor. A left behind that will lead a crew that will leave no man behind. See, after ministry school, they sent me down to Madagascar, Africa. I'm in there with a bunch of PKs, pastors' kids. I'm the most uneducated one. I don't have degrees. I don't have a diploma. I have nothing. Let me make that clear, that I am nothing. I don't have book smarts. I don't have anything. The only thing I have is the faith in Jesus. And that's more than enough. He's taking the unlikely people and doing a crazy thing in this world. If you're man enough or woman enough to stand up to the call. See, I went down to Madagascar and we put on festivals down there and it's great going on the streets and preaching to them. And the first day we pull up on a bus and you stand up on a bus and you preach so you can get out to the crowd. They have all these educated people that's been doing it for years and years and years and years. And they look at me and my teacher Samuel says, get up here. Why are you picking me? I was leaning on that bus. I had to hold on to the rail because I was tearing up and crying so much because I'm like, but I'm a junkie in the middle of Africa about to preach joy and life and speak to these people of encouragement. When a couple years ago I was living and eating out of a dumpster. I've been able to accomplish something in my life that I've never been able to even see. See, if you think you can get here, right? You can accomplish this, you're setting your standards too low. See, Jesus wants to do something crazy. He likes to get crazy. Look at our group. Look at this church. We're crazy. If we hit the streets together, right? How many people can we get? See, I came into that program and their houses were in the middle of the hood. That's why we never changed it. Now that I run the Kingdom Bound Project homes and I also run a landscape business because I can't get hired at Home Depot. So we can either sit in our situations and cry about it and mope around and just getting by, or we could say, God, I want to do more, and then He'll open a door for you, and now I run a business. See, we're not mediocre people. We don't need to sit here white-knuckling addiction. We don't need to just get by paycheck to paycheck. Because if we just put it all on Jesus, everything, watch what He does with your life. Watch what He does with your finances. Watch what He does with your relationships. Watch what He does with this church. Watch what He does with the community. Watch what He will do. If we will just give Him our time. our communication, our relationship with Him, right? See, I love hearing stories from these guys. I love it. We are the light to the community, right? We should be that place, that church, not the walls, but the church of the people. Every time you walk past somebody, you're smiling, you're talking, there's got to be a joy that overflows inside of you. How does it keep overflowing? You hunger and thirst for His righteousness. You have to believe in the core of you that Jesus died for you. When your day starts getting tough, and it gets hard sometimes, because you have to look at Jesus on the cross, and you have to say, this anger that's rising up inside of me, I know you have the weight of the world on you right now, but Daddy, I got to give that to you. I got to give that to you because I can't take it anymore, because if I do, I'm going to explode. That's how you stay sober. That's how you stay without anxiety. That's how you stay without anger and all these things, all this crap you're not even supposed to have in your life. Right? It's that constant submission to Christ. But we believe in deliverance, right? See, I don't know if there's people in here that are dealing with addiction. I'm sure that there's a lot of different things that we're going through. But when we have the worship team come up, and you guys can come up. See, I have ADD. See, I want my main point. I don't want anybody to remember my name. My name is irrelevant. What I do is irrelevant. The only important thing is what He does. See, if you give Him one chance, He will show you what He's about. I didn't know God. I didn't know what was possible. I didn't know all these things, but there was something inside of me that says, okay, God, if you're real, show me. Show me that you're real, God. And if you truly come before Him with that heart, He will alleviate the pains and hurts out of you. He can deliver you instantly. He will set you free from whatever bondage you are bound up in. And you can live that way the rest of your life, to where you don't have to white knuckle your life. Does that make sense? Do we believe that Jesus can do that? Is there a fire that needs to be rekindled? A fire that needs to be brought back to the house? A fire that needs to be inside of us? So when we're walking down the streets, we can't do anything but evangelize. Tell somebody about Jesus. Tell them that there's hope. See, I walked around this campground and had my guys here, and I couldn't stop thinking about this community. About this place. I was in here this morning early praying, and I could see it packed. See, I could see it overflow. I can see addicts from side to side. I can see broken people. We don't want the people that are fixed. Stay out there. Stay out there. I want the crackhead down the street eating that little piece of cheeseburger that's hidden underneath that thing over there. And I need to go up in them, and I need to hug them, and I just need to say, Jesus, He didn't forget about you. See, Jesus wants to do something crazy with you. And then when they look at you with those crazy eyes, like, what are you talking about? Do you see me? Like, what? Yeah. Because Jesus died for you. A junkie that has been able to turn it around. We have a house of how many guys? We have a grad home in Pittsburgh. We're going to be opening more. We're doing all these things. I don't have a diploma. I don't have nothing. I'm not rich. I ain't got a Bentley. Nothing. And I have Jesus, and that's more than enough. Any issue that comes in my life today, any issue, the world could crumble around me, and I will stand sober, and I will stand at the foot of the cross, and I will worship Him. Because He is enough. When He is enough, you can accomplish anything. If you guys will rise with me, let's go back into worship, and I'm going to have some people up here ready to pray. I want you to get vulnerable for a second. I want you to get real for a second, because there's some stuff inside of your hearts. There's some things that inside of your life that I'm telling you today you do not have to leave this place with. If you would just take a moment and say, okay, Jesus, is this dude crazy or are you real? Let's get there. Let's believe together. So we'll have a team up here. If not, God bless you. Thank you. everything in my heart that the Holy Spirit wants to do something here. I mean, I can't get the church off my mind since I knew I was coming here and being in prayer. There's a genuineness here. There's a genuineness here, but there's some things that need to be broken. There's some things that we need to push through and go after. But we need to be a people that believe that God can do it, and wants to do it, and restore it to overflowing capacity to where we got to blow these walls out and make Sam build wings on this place so that we can fill everybody in here. See there? There's a thriving that needs to happen. And for me, one of the reasons that I am able to keep going and going and going and going is because of I keep hearing of what God does. And it amazes me. And I think that's why I keep my guys so close to me, and I don't separate too far from them, because I get to watch their lives and how Jesus is still doing what He's doing, what He did 2,000 years ago, that He's doing it now. And it just amazes me that there's so many stories in this room how Jesus will set someone free that never even knew Him, or a situation. Charlie, come here. Charlie's 20 years old. How many would have been able to get their crap together at 20 years old? Because you couldn't tell us nothing at 20, right? Nothing. Charlie, I want you to tell them what you were facing in jail.
Me?
No, the other Charlie.
I was facing like 47 to 60 years in prison back in February of this year, 20th. I got caught up, I guess, selling drugs, doing drugs, stealing cars, crashing it, and yeah, starting the cops too. I went to court, and when I was at court and stuff, what happened was I went in, I was scared, didn't know what to expect, but I was trying to get a prison, and that's what kind of happened. I ended up getting 3 years of probation instead. I had like 50 some years in prison. I only got 3 years of parole, and I'm in Allegheny County, so yeah, that's kind of what happened.
Come on. Woo! Come on. The young man, thank you. Good. So a young man that was facing years of prison, his whole life suddenly changes. When I first met him, his pants are down to here. He can't talk. He's got Gucci on his feet. He's like, "What up, bro?" We're getting better. He's got a heart that loves Jesus now. Jesus, the lawyer looked at me and was like, "Bro, there's no way he's getting out of all this, just so you know." And I says, "Well, we believe in Jesus." And they look at you like you're stupid. And I love that look. I love that look. Because it's a better look to look at me when I say Jesus than it was when you looked at me when I was in the dumpster. Today I can stand on that and be proud. Steve, come here. Tell them a little bit about yours real quick.
Yeah, so, I'm kind of like Mikey in a sense. We have similar testimonies of drug addiction from a young age. Instead of finishing high school, I was in prison, formed that wrong identity, and I actually had a pastor visit me in prison as well and tell me I was lucky to be a drug addict because he kind of prophesied in my life, and at the time I thought he was crazy. I'm like, yeah, well, But he told me I was going to hit my knees and look to God and just be broken, and God was going to show up and change my life, and that's actually exactly what happened one day. And I actually had a gun to my head, yelled out to God, and He answered me, and changed my life pretty much from that day forward. Now, I've tripped and fell along the way. I've been through ministry school, and I've also fell. Recently, I had to come back into my home, but just like he was talking about, I quit putting Jesus and God as the center of my life and started to get prideful and started to, you start to accomplish things, you start to want to take the credit, but really the credit always goes to Him, because if not, we fall every time. And, so that's just, God has been good, and even when we stumble, He's still good enough to reach down and pull us out. And thank Him every day for that.
See, when you dig that hole so deep, right? You dig that ditch so deep sometimes. Your family leaves you, the people leave you, the insurances won't pay for your rehabs anymore. All of that stuff. See, when you're in the dirt and you're down in the muck and you have nowhere else to go, what keeps me sober today is that I can look over, and the only one that's still there is Jesus. Jesus isn't at the top waiting like everybody else, waiting for me to get back out of there, then we'll be friends again. Jesus is in the dirt with me, looking me eye to eye, saying, come on, son, I know you got it in you. That's what gets me to stand back up and say, all right, dust off and let's get it. Because it's discipleship that we're called to do. I love that your new series is going to be What's Your Calling? But I can tell you right now that every single one of you is called to disciple, is called to evangelize, is called to tell people Jesus is real and He is alive.
Don't give away all this.
Because I love it. These guys are in the hood and they have dope fiends knocking at the door asking for prayer. There's something that's got to be triggered inside of you that says, this, I'm all in. It's not cool to either be, He tells you in the Word of God, you can't be lukewarm. Pick one side and run with it. If you ain't going to choose Jesus, go. Do your thing. But there's an army He's calling to rise up. There's an army of people that want more than just a regular Christian life. We want to live the book of Acts. We believe that the Holy Spirit is moving. We believe that we can prophesy into someone's life and we can tell them that there's hope and we can speak that into existence and watch them come out of the pits of hell and live a successful, sober life. I'm not going to make Malcolm come up here. But, see, when he came in here, and you can even read it on his arms. He's got heathen, he's got all this stuff, right? Normally I don't allow tattoos in the program, but we're still thinking about making an exception. But a man, atheist, comes in. A guy that just comes in so he doesn't go to jail. Right? No care in the world. We took him on a homeless outreach. Changed. And I'm not saying he's the one up here going, woo, woo, you know? But there was a heart change. All of a sudden, it's not about me, my needs, and all of everything I need. You watched him serve and come back with excitement, all of them. You could take them out there, they will not shut up about the stuff we need to get for other people. They won't. That's Jesus. An atheist that didn't believe in Jesus at all asked me to order him a Bible last week so that he could study more. You don't need to be at the front lines in these battles, right? But you got to be in the line. You got to be in there somewhere. Get in where you fit in, right? At some point, if it's your giving, it's your giving. If it's you're building something, you're building something. If you're able to walk, move, and speak, your job is to tell people about Jesus. And there's a genuineness in this church. And I'm so excited because I don't know what God's doing. And I'm already in my mind, and I'm just like, man, we need a house out here. We need guys out here. We need women homes. We need guy homes. We need more to mobilize an army. So I hope that some of these stories touched your heart. We're going to be downstairs eating and hanging out, right? So if you guys want to talk or have any questions, we'll be right there.
Thank you, Michael. What a powerful story. A lot of you guys don't know nothing about me, so I'm going to share a little bit of my testimony real quick. They need a couple more minutes downstairs, so some of this could be really long term. All right, I hit my knees 11/21/91. No exaggeration. I fell down on my knees. And I held my hands up and I started bawling like a little child. And I asked God to pull me up out of the addiction that I was in. I was an IV drug user. I was facing federal time. And it was like he reached down and turned the switch off. And it took me a while to put the pieces together of what happened. Okay? But I didn't struggle with it. I didn't white knuckle it. I walked free. Just walked free. And everything that he has done in my life to this point has brought me here. I've been clean almost half my life now, which is just amazing to me. Half of my life. I started using at 6. All right? I was an IV drug user by the time I was a teenager. Our stories are similar. But here I am, almost 30 years clean now. Right? I was at a party last night, and this is hilarious to me. I was at a party last night with a bunch of outlaw bikers, not the outlaws, but outlaw 1% bikers, criminals that would kill me quickly and bury me if they didn't trust me. All right? They were partying. They were smoking dope. They were drinking. They were doing drugs. And I was perfectly fine. I wasn't worried about it. Didn't need to use. I felt no urge to use whatsoever. All right? I was good. Now, I don't suggest that for any of you. I've been clean for 30 years. You know, I walk free from it. But the point I'm making here is, you know, God is going to do something different with each and every one of us. I did prison ministry for 5 years, and I was sitting down praying one day, and God says, all right, it's time for you to move on. This isn't dangerous enough. This isn't radical enough. And He sent me back to where I came from, back into the 1% world to try to reach these guys. Prison ministry was safe. Getting these guys to know me, call me friend, and trust me enough to let me into their world was tricky. I didn't want to do it. I was scared. You know, I came out of that life. I knew what it was like. I've had friends killed. All right? I've had friends beaten to death over nothing more than a prospect trying to get his badge. And He sent me back out into that. And these guys called me friend. And they're sitting there partying last night, but we actually got to talk about God a little bit. So it's a radical, radical ministry. And He's got the same thing for each and every one of us. But it's going to, you know, it's going to go in stair steps. I'd say probably about my 10th year clean, I had a nervous breakdown, right? Because I was not digging into the Word. I didn't know God, but I became about my career. That was my new addiction, making money, trying to do it on my own. And I was doing everything in my own strength. And one of my best friends was a man of God, led Bible studies and all this stuff. And we used to talk about God all the time. And one day, I left the house at 3 o'clock to go to work. 3 o'clock! Man, what kind of retardation is that? 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work. I'm sorry, but if you can't make the kind of money you need to make in 8 to 10 hours, then you probably are spending too much or you need to try something else. But if you can't live on 8 to 10 hours a day, then you're not living right. Well, I sat on the back of my truck and I really felt like I was going to blow up. I sat on the back of my work truck and I sat there and I bawled my eyes out. And that's when I asked God back into my life. I'm like, God, I need help. You know, I did this on my own and I messed it up. And I'm completely broken now and I need your help. And that's when the pruning began and all the stuff that I built without Him was taken away. But everything that He took away, He has restored to me. And then some. I've got grandkids. I've got a house that I almost own. Me and the bank, we're getting... I got more control than the bank does. But everything that He took away in that pruning process, He gave me back. And, you know, it's just, you know, we are going to go through seasons. And He wants us to go through seasons. He wants us to dig in. You know, if we're feeling a little lonely, it's probably because we haven't dug into the Word and we haven't sought Him out. So let's seek Him out. But guys, I'm telling you right now, 30 years, you know, almost 30 years, it feels amazing. So, you know, whenever you're struggling, you've got brothers, right? And that's what it's all about. We're not supposed to walk this out alone. You know, we're supposed to disciple each other. The man said, you know, we are supposed to disciple each other. If you're feeling off or you're feeling full, give some away or go get some. But anyway, we got some food downstairs for y'all. And you know what? While we're all up here, all sitting down, let's go ahead and bless the food right now, all right? Father God, thank you for the food we're about to receive. Thank you for the hands who prepared it. Thank you for this wonderful day. And thank you for the testimony we've heard today. Father God, we just thank you in advance for this kingdom moving forward. We do all feel it. We do feel like we're blowing up. That, you know, we're just going to go out into the world and we're just going to keep blowing this thing up. In your name, Jesus. In Jesus' holy name. Like Michael said, forget my name, remember Jesus. And we have a saying in the club that I belong to, it ain't about Jesus, it ain't about nothing. Amen. Amen.